Welcome to Heart Healthy Living with Dr. Jackie, a Big Blend radio podcast that features Dr. Jacqueline Eubany, a board-certified cardiologist and electrophysiologist and author of the best-selling book, Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story. So welcome, everyone. You know, August is National Wellness Month. It's also Family Fun Month. And at this time of year, it's back to school month. You go in the grocery stores, you know, those backpacks are at the front, the papers in the front, the pens. I don't know if anyone's using pens anymore because a lot of kids are going to school with their phones in their hand. I've read stats that that's not as exactly the best way to study, but I'm not the parenting teaching expert. But what I do know is that I've read a few reports recently talking about heart disease on the increase, including heart attacks on the increase for young adults under the age of 40. And I'm like, what? And of course, Dr. Jackie Eubany is here on Big Blend Radio every month, typically on the second Wednesday. But, you know, it's been summertime and we wanted to catch you all when it is time for back to school and routines change so that we can talk about getting a new routine that is heart health for the entire family. So, Dr. Jackie, are you ready to talk about all ages today? Because normally we're thinking about, you know, adults, maybe over 50, 60 plus, and it looks like we need to focus on our younger generation a little bit more now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And thanks for having me. I'm always happy to come on to have these discussions.
Yeah, always good to have you here because I think, you know, we've always talked about how heart disease is the number one killer, right? For men, women across this country. And yet we can reverse this majority of the time, right? I know that some of us are born with, you know, some heart issues, but even that we can work with, right? So this is something to take seriously when it comes to our younger generation. I was reading, I think one of the stats said that heart attacks in people 18 to 44 are rare, but have increased more than 66% since 2019. That's pretty wild.
Yes, that is completely staggering, and it's, the same things, the same risks that we see in elderly people. We're starting to see more and more of these cardiovascular risks in younger people, and it's causing more heart attacks in younger people.
What's really blowing my mind about this is that I see like there's different younger generations, and don't ask me all the Gen Zs, X, Ys, whatever, no, I'm never going to get it right. But I do see a movement of the younger generation being more sober. They don't drink like my high school did. Like my high school versus high school now, night and day difference. But what I'm seeing in younger generations, maybe a little bit more pot and stuff like that, but which is a different pot than, when I was in school and I was in a different country. That's probably way better than here. I have no clue. I'm not going to answer that. My own question, but I am going to say smoking has not seemed to go away. And what I'm seeing in adults and youth is that vaping is almost looking like people forget that is smoking, right? Is like, it's almost like everyone thinks this is not smoke. You're smoking, but you're not. It's cool. It's still got the cool appeal, especially being long, and it's becoming a habit just even with like holding it. Smoking it orally is a habit, but is this as dangerous as a cigarette?
Yes, vaping can increase your risk for cardiovascular disease because of its effects on the body. It can cause things like elevated heart rate and elevated blood pressure, which puts a lot of strain on the heart and can lead to heart disease. It can also cause damage to the blood vessels, making them stiffer, giving you hypertension, which is a risk factor for heart disease. And not to mention it can also increase your risk for blood clots and strokes, and potentially can increase your risk for heart failure. So vaping is not as benign as people think.
Wow. So not good for anybody. And that's the thing. And it comes in all these different flavors. And I'm wondering about all these different flavors. And I mean, I can smell it. Come on, man. But like all these different flavors, that's got to be additives that aren't good for you on top of that.
Potentially, yes. So it's the nicotine in the vaping, along with some of the chemicals that are in there, that's bad for the heart. So yes, I would agree with that.
I know. I read a study like vaping makes you 34% more likely to have a heart attack compared to someone not vaping. That's a lot.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We need to get this message out there because it seems like this is quite common in the younger generation. So this could be accounting for the elevated numbers of heart disease that we're seeing in younger people.
Yeah, and I wonder also because a lot of these studies, and I know you've got some other studies too, showing a little bit of the spike as well, that I wonder if it's over COVID time, and that was a very stressful time for youth. In school, no matter what age, college, the stress level, and I wonder about our youth going through stress. So do you think possibly stress can make our youth a little bit start to have hypertension? I mean, I'm hearing more and more about everybody having anxiety. So can
Yeah.
anxiety create hypertension too?
Yeah, if you're stressed out and you have anxiety and you are predisposed to having a heart attack because you have high cholesterol or plaques in the heart, this stressful event can trigger a heart attack. So yeah, so it's very important to make sure you're not as stressed.
Now, what about diabetes? I mean, go to a grocery store. Sometimes I see so many youth overweight and they're getting the candy they want in the store. Now, I'm not
Oh,
a parent, but I had a parent. I mean, I have a parent, my mom here, and she was like, you don't get any of that unless you eat your carrots and your beans. And like, that's not going to happen. And she was really about, be outside, play, do things. And so I'm wondering also about so much with phones, so much with video
yeah.
games. Some of them are good for your agility. There's some stats show good stuff. But what about
Yeah.
diabetes? Is it the exercise and the food combined that's maybe hurting the youth?
So it's all of it. We always talk about risk factors for cardiovascular disease on this channel. So it's all of it. So the risk factors like diabetes, which we're also seeing a rise in diabetes in younger people, obesity is on the rise, and high blood pressure. So with all these risk factors, we're seeing more and more risk factors in younger people, which is why we're seeing increasing episodes of heart attack in this age group.
Wow. Oh man. So it's everything that we talk about for adults, we now need to look at for our youth. And the other thing too is what about drugs? Because that is something that always gets our youth is drugs.
Yes.
That's that teen years, the going to college years. I think we're way more aware of it than when I was in school. I really am starting to sound like I'm way over the hill and I just crossed the hill. But I'm really climbing that hill now. But I look back and actually my childhood, we had such good ads about like if you took heroin, they just showed people throwing up everywhere. And I'm like, I don't want to throw up. So I never had a problem with drugs because I don't want to throw up. It's one of the worst things to me on the planet is throwing up. I hate it. I really do. I'm sorry. So it worked on me. Those those corny commercials we all laughed about as kids worked on me very well. But apparently, there's drugs now that get people hooked instantly.
Absolutely.
Don't know what they're taking. They trust a
Yeah,
friend.
yeah.
So yeah, is the drug thing. I remember you being on a show and even on the doctor show. Remember you were on the doctor show?
Yes, yes,
Talking
talking
about
about
what core drugs. So scare
insane.
everybody for me about what hardcore drugs do. They do more than barfing.
I mean, yeah, so drugs can increase your risk for heart attack. It can increase your risk of lethal arrhythmias like ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation, which
Whoa.
puts you at risk for instant death. It can cause heart failure. Yeah, so there's a lot of dangers to the heart when it comes to drugs. And sometimes you see these effects on the heart, many years down the line, even after you've stopped using the drugs, you can still develop heart failure as a result of the toxicity of the drugs on your heart. So it's just better not to start using drugs in the first place.
Throw up.
Yeah,
It happened.
if something simple like that worked for you, I mean, I guess we should put that message out there. Maybe it'll work for other people as well.
You will throw up. You take hardcore drugs, you will throw up and you'll get weird things all over your body. I've seen
Exactly.
all these you'll break out in weird things. You will look like 20 to 40 years older than what you are.
Exactly.
If you think a 40-year-old looks old, when you're 19, 20 years old, you're going to look like that if you do the drugs. How about that?
That's
Yeah.
good.
It's
That's good.
true. And you're
Yeah,
going to have scabs on your face, scabs all over your
exactly.
body. No,
Yes.
it's not good.
And if you do get a heart attack and heart failure, your quality of life is going to be really bad. You're not going to be able to walk much because you get very, very short of breath with minimal activity. And you're going to probably end up in and out of the hospital frequently. So it's just going to mess up your whole life. So just stay away from it.
that sucks. And you could end up with a stroke and
Yeah.
then not be able to speak
And be
properly.
debilitated. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Did
People
make
sometimes
it
people
good.
s yeah, I know sometimes people say, "Well, I don't care if I have a stroke, at least I'll pass away and that'll be
Oh,
that." And I said,
no.
"No, no. I mean, that's the best outcome for you to pass away, but most of the time people don't. People survive it with severe handicap.
And end up having a caregiver in your family that may
Yes,
be already run off their feet and financially not be able to handle it. So it's a
exactly.
lot of stress. And I actually, that's actually a really good point. When we talk about heart health is for the whole family, I think it's a responsibility for people to take care of themselves within a family so that you don't, I mean, obviously things happen, right? And we all take care of each other and health issues and everything. But don't you want to not be that to your kids, like, in a
Yes.
way? Does that make sense? I'm not trying to be rude or mean, but I do think that whenever you take that extra whatever, pill, donut, wine, whatever it is, you're affecting not just you, you're affecting your
I
family.
think exactly, because you're teaching your children how to eat, when they're growing up in your house, and whatever they eat growing up is what they kind of mirror and go on into adulthood eating that way. So, yeah, so if you can adopt a healthy family eating habits, you teach your kids at a young age about heart healthy eating, and they're more likely to stay compliant with that for, most of their lives.
Yeah, I think, I look back at everyone I know, especially from youth, and if they were involved in any kind of sport in school, not necessarily to be a pro sports person, but just active, a family that goes hiking together, maybe
Yes.
sailing, but an active family. Those kids, when they grow up, stay active and tend to eat healthier. Nancy and I travel the country, right? So we're
Hmm.
always, and as we travel, we pet sit, not a money thing. And we get to work while we travel and in a home in a good environment. And in that way, we have a kitchen so we can eat salads and things. It's very cool. And what we noticed is like, yeah, the people that we sit for that are active, you, what's in the refrigerator is completely, I'm not snooping, but you're there. Our stuff's next to theirs. And you have to go, oh, that's their lettuce, not mine, which is great. But you can see that the active people are actually eating healthier. You don't see
Yes.
does that kind of make sense? It's like your body did a switch or has already been programmed since youth a lot of times.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Completely agree with that. The more active you are, the healthier you are. And the healthier eating habits you have, and the lower your risk for cardiovascular disease.
Yeah, and they're actually, the more active they are, they're more like going, I need more protein, I need more of this to keep up with
Exactly,
my
to be
activity.
strong. Exactly. So they can, be strong and, yeah, keep up their activity, like you said.
Okay, so families, now that, we've berated everyone, don't do this, don't do that, which is not really how we act normally, but these numbers are scary to me.
They
Y-
are. They
You
really
know,
are. Yeah.
it's a sad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's,
don't think many people are aware of that. Well, I think podcasts like this are really good because we've been trying to educate women about heart disease because women never think that they're at risk for heart disease, and we've done a good job, I think. So now maybe we
mm,
should start focusing on this younger group,
yeah.
who never even think about health or never think that they could get sick or ever think that this could happen to them. Maybe we should start educating them more about heart disease.
Yeah. And it's like if the whole family comes together, like we talked about this, and actually one of the most popular podcasts that we've done this year was about friends working together. Friends do heart health together, so they walk together, they check on each other on how you're doing on food. Well, it's the same thing with a family. So that's why I'm
Mhm.
saying back to school time now is fantastic. You look at, okay, everyone's busy, and this is where the shenanigans happen. That pizza gets put in the oven when it's crazy time. Now, that is better than not eating, right?
Yes.
But there's just different ways you can do it. And I know a lot of moms and dads too who will batch cook and freeze for busy days. I think that can actually save you money, right? Especially when you've got a household of young boys. Oh my God, they will eat you out of the house. So if
Yeah.
you can do things like get a big roast, have the roast and use leftovers and just kind of look at it that way of eating healthy that way, then it's not a big
Good
stressful
deal.
thing like Soccer practice is happening, ballet, whatever. Those things are all heart healthy good, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think planning meals in advance helps you stick better to a heart healthy diet or heart healthy way of eating. Because if you wait till the last minute and you're hungry, you always tend to grab the wrong things to eat, the quick things that tend to be the worst for your cardiovascular health.
What is something when we look at what should be on the table? I mean, some of the really big no-nos. We all know the sweets, the candies, that kind of thing. And we all get to still have them in moderation, right? But
Yes.
let's look at if you could say to a family right now, like 5 things that would be really good on the table. Because I know you are big supporter of the Mediterranean diet. Would that be
Yes.
something that you would say, look into those kind of recipes?
Yeah, I would say the Mediterranean diet is an excellent choice because it has been shown to reduce your risk for cardiovascular disease by up to 30%. So, if you want to eat healthy, I would say more fruits and vegetables. You want to get more lean proteins or plant-based proteins in your diet. And you want to avoid the saturated fats and the high cholesterol meals and, cutting back on your salt. So those kinds of things are good for your cardiovascular health.
Mm, okay. Yeah, cut back on the salt. So sausage is not a good thing? No? A
Avoid
roast?
those,
If I
yeah.
got a roast pork loin for the family, that's okay. Loin of pork?
Well, maybe you want chicken. Maybe you want chicken
Oh,
breast or turkey or something like that. It has just the leaner cuts of the meat.
okay. So what about cold cuts? That you go in, you get all this sliced turkey, and they promise that it's fine. But I always wonder, like, isn't that processed and
Yeah, that's processed. And when things are processed like that, they tend to have a lot of salt and a lot of chemicals that are not good for you. So you just want fresh
whole food?
things. Yeah, whole food. Yes, exactly.
So if it's a turkey, it's like a
Non-processed.
turkey you roasted. And I mean, really, we can have turkey year round. Roast it, do whatever you need to do. You can make soup. I think that if you look at it that way as a family, especially in all ages, because a lot of times grandparents are living in with a family too. Often the grandparents are taking the little kids on road trips and all kinds of good stuff. I mean, it
Right,
is
right.
that's the beauty. It takes a village. So food wise, if you're feeding a huge family, then this kind of preparation will help you save money in the
Yes,
end. So that's a good thing.
yes.
And
I
have big
agree.
bags of apples. Like I used to do that, big bags of apples, because someone's hungry, go have an apple, maybe not the cookie, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
those kinds
Absolutely.
of things. Okay. We talked a little bit about exercise, which I know you're huge about. What about taking a walk? You say everyone needs 150 minutes of cardiovascular activity, right? So you don't
A
need to
week.
do a week. Yeah, 150
Yeah.
minutes a week. So I
Minimum.
do it
Yes.
minimum. So I do that a lot through dog walking. And every time I don't, I can immediately tell you that my waist, when you hit the 50, the waist goes, I'm breathing. I'm going to increase, and that's what's going to happen. But as soon as I get back out walking, your body just feels better, even if you
Exactly.
don't see noticeable results. There's a energy, and your heart feels better, you're breathing better, and it's just beautiful. So I would like to think that maybe families, I know, depending on what's going on with kids, take out time to take a neighborhood walk the dogs, and maybe all the kids have turns walking the dog or walk together through the garden, something, and get involved in your backyard space. Start gardening because you're pulling weeds, you're doing stuff, it's active. It's maybe play basketball outside, those kinds of things. Will
Yes.
that all help? Those kinds of things.
Yes, I agree. All that helps. And doing it together as a family is always a great way. Make it fun so that you don't feel like you're doing anything hard,
Yeah.
strenuous. Yeah. Involve the whole family. This way you can get to know your kids. You can take those as opportunities to talk to them more and bond with them more. So you're killing multiple birds with one stone by doing this family activity together.
I wanted to also ask you, by being active, I personally, like if I'm uptight and I take a walk, like by the time I come back, I'm way different human being, like better. Like I should just walk all day and that's all I should do.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not,
probably should.
nicer. Yeah. It's like, I'm a real happy person just walking. I come back, I'm happy, and then someone says something. I'm like, wait, I'm going for another walk. But can exercise or some kind of movement, right? Playing basketball, whatever it is, football in the yard, play baseball, just have some fun. Can that help reduce the hypertension? Because for me personally, it feels like it does.
Yes, I think exercising, not only does it reduce your stress, it can decrease your blood pressure. So we always talk about, the fact that you can reduce your risk by up to 80% with some simple lifestyle changes. Exercising can do it, heart healthy eating, of course. But yeah, for sure, exercise can help decrease blood pressure, decrease stress, and overall decrease your risk for cardiovascular disease.
Whew. Okay. So have some fun, y'all. That's the other thing.
Abs-
Laugh. Have movie
Yes,
night. You get to sit down and laugh. Laugh is good. Laughter is
absolutely. Laughter is
everything.
always good for the heart.
I like this. And even if it's just one Sunday walk together, I think in a family that works together and does things together, it's good bonding. It makes everyone happy.
Yes.
You always have a word of the month. And I wanted to ask you about this word because people talk about it and I go, I should know this after all the years of podcasting with you. And I know you've explained it, but I need this help of understanding because I have my own visuals, as you know, which could be dangerous or really be good to help everyone understand. But people go, well, if this doesn't happen, they're going to put a stent in. And I'm going, okay. So to me, it's like, like, I don't get it. They're going to give you like a little, decoration on you. Like what's, it's like, that's not a good thing. But then I go, does it get blinged out? What happens with what stent? What?
Us a stent is a small kind of mesh like thing it's usually metal, but it's like a mesh like metal that's placed into either a narrowed or a blocked artery in the heart to keep it open so that you can improve the blood flow through that artery, because as you know, the heart needs oxygen and nutrients from blood in order to function normally. So when you have blockages in your arteries, you can't get enough blood flow and therefore not enough oxygen to the heart, and that can lead to heart attacks. So what we do is put a stent in the place that props it open so that you can get adequate blood supply to your heart.
Wow. So we got dirt in there, basically. It's like we want
Well,
clean running.
yeah,
in
like
our-
plaques. Remember we talked about
Yeah.
plaques
Yeah.
last time? So yeah, so plaques and clogging up the artery can either, if it's completely clogged up with plaques or narrowed, you can push that stent in. We say we deploy the stent and use a balloon to expand the stent to
Oh,
open
wow.
up the vessel. And this way you get blood flowing through that vessel.
So you get to play with balloons in people's bodies. Like that's what you do?
I
Is it
don't do I don't do that particular procedure. I'm an electrophysiologist, so I do mostly arrhythmia.
and she'll do the zapping thing too.
Yes, exactly. The ablations, the pacemakers, and those kinds of things.
Wow. So the balloons, I mean, this sounds like a party in the hospital.
It
Patch
says.
Adams, come on through. Yeah. But so that when you do those, okay, so that's basically if you haven't been doing checkups and stuff, you may not have had that opportunity for a stent and could go like to the so that's the importance of actually going talk about family health, whole family checkups and all that stuff should actually be everybody should know what's going on. Like
Yeah. And the stuff we talk about all the time, the exercising, the heart healthy eating, non-smoking, and those kinds of things actually work to prevent that plaque
mm,
from building into the heart. So if you do all these things, you decrease your risk of building the plaques or causing the plaques to get worse and completely obstruct that artery.
but now you may not know you need a stent if you've been naughty and not
Right.
behaving in a heart healthy way, not going to the doctor for checkups. So you could end up being at a place without, like, it's already too late for a stent.
Yeah. And then you end up
So,
with a heart attack. That's correct.
so that's why checkups are important.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Well, okay, everybody, it's back to school, y'all. I really feel like it. All right. So put heart health as part of it, but really a whole family coming together and also look at, I think if the family can come together and work on meals together as a project, it would be really cool. Like, hey, I'm going to help mom do this or dad do this, or maybe one of the teens are able to make a really cool meal. Let that happen. Like, hey, I'm going to, work with quinoa. I always say quinoa, and that's apparently wrong. I just learned from a chef, like, no, quinoa instead of, using white rice, right? We know that's not really good for us. So like, I'm going to use this grain instead, and I'm going to do that. And it gets everybody thinking about what they want to do. And again, I think the activity part of it really will help kids get on board and the parents. That way, everybody's kind of looking at each other and holding each other accountable in a way, but not
That's
picky.
correct.
We don't need to be
That's
picky about it.
that's
Very cool.
correct.
I love it. Well, Dr. Jackie, thank you as always. Everyone, Dr. Jackie's book, as you know, is Women and Heart Disease, The Real Story. Check out womenandheartdiseasebook.com. It's a bestseller, and you can keep it a bestseller. So go check it out. Thanks, Dr. Jackie.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on Big Blend Radio's Heart Healthy Living Show with Dr. Jackie. New episodes air every second Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can keep up with Dr. Jackie at womenandheartdiseasebook.com. Listen to the shows at bigblendradio.com.